Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things frugal, thrifty and money saving and just general lifestyle stuff really. And you nearly didn't get this video because the last 2 weeks have been manic, absolutely mental. They've been so busy because I've had, my youngest daughter's been really poorly. She's had a kind of post-viral thing that's made her extremely tired and fatigued and she's been feeling very, very ill. So I drove down to Brighton where she lives and picked her up and brought her back because I thought, and she thought, having a bit of time with her mummy, cooking her meals and looking after her would help her out a lot. And I think it has. So she's been here for the last couple of weeks and she's I dropped her earlier at her dad's and he's taken her back home tomorrow, so I don't have to do that trip, which is good. And then my eldest daughter has had a small operation, and so I've been toing and froing to the hospital with her and to appointments. I've got some of those next week as well, post-op appointments, and taking her food because she can't lift anything. And doing some housework for her and sorting her washing and changing her bed today and that kind of thing. So I've been really, really busy with those things and just sort of trying to keep up with work as well generally. And I have, as a result, haven't really done enough cleaning here. I've let myself get overtired. I haven't been doing my yoga practice. I've been exercising in that I've been walking because I still have to walk the dog, but I haven't been doing that nice sort of stretching every day that really keeps me calm and makes me feel good physically and mentally. And I haven't done enough of that because it's just really been manic. And it reminded me of when I was working, not so many years ago, when I was working full time and I still had all three of my daughters at home. And you know what it's like if you're in that situation. You have, a lot of us are, you're working full-time hours, you get home, someone still has to sort out the housework, get the food in, the garden, the bills, the DIY, all of the stuff that comes with having teenage daughters and teenage sons probably as well. Some of us have maybe caring responsibilities all the time for family members. Mine are extremely part-time, but I do help my mum and dad out quite a lot, making time for a cup of tea. And so, your work week is over, but you're just doing jobs. And it kind of brought all that back to me. And I've kind of had a nice, calmer time the last few years because I obviously gave up work and have been working for myself. So I have a little bit more time and I can set my own schedule. But it did make me think about the kind of things that I particularly did when I was working full time to kind of keep my life simple and save time wherever I could, and stop myself getting totally stressed out and overwhelmed by everything. So the big thing, I think, that for me that was an important thing always and still is that I didn't get into debt, saved money where I could, lived a frugal lifestyle, set a budget, stuck to the budget. Because if you spend less and don't have debt, then you don't have to work as much and you don't have to earn as much. So that's a kind of key thing for me, is not to get into debt. Having said that, I have been so busy the last 2 weeks. I have not kept up with my New Year's resolution of tracking my spending every day. And I have about 4 days worth sitting in my budget book. Just paper receipts. I keep paper receipts, but obviously sometimes I do some shopping online as well. So I'll go through my online stuff if I've done any shopping there. So tonight, that's a job for tonight, to sit and catch up with myself and make sure that I'm sticking to my budget. So that's one thing for tonight. And then when it comes to things like washing and ironing, I mean, you can't see, but there is a clothes horse, an area full of laundry that needed to be done once Izzy had gone back. So that's sitting there drying. We haven't had sunny weather today, so I haven't been able to stick it outside. I have recently though, even though it's February. But what I'll do when it's dry is I will just fold it up, shake it out, put it away. There's hardly anything that's ironed, especially now that I don't have to go to work in an office. Most things I find, if it was a cotton shirt, like the sort that you might wear to work with a suit, that would need to be ironed. I don't wear things like that. I'd have no reason to wear things like that now. A lot of time I'm in kind of sloppy sweatshirts like this. But I find that with most things, t-shirts and that kind of thing, I give them a shake. I hang them quite straight, and then I'll just put them away. And if they've got any creases, they just come out as you wear them. So shopping, I shop once a week or even once a fortnight now for food. And I really never shop for fun, apart from charity shops or boot sales, and when I've got a small amount of money and I'm buying something really for myself and I love a bargain. So I never would go to a shopping mall for fun and just spend my Saturday spending lots of money and having coffee and that kind of thing. So, and then that will take so much time anyway, and I don't particularly enjoy it. So what would be the point? But yeah, I don't do that. I don't even enjoy going to the supermarket. I take a list and I get around as quickly as I possibly can. And that's one of the reasons I quite enjoy these days shopping at Lidl and Aldi, because not only are they a lot cheaper, really a lot cheaper than the other supermarkets, you get around really quickly because they don't have as much stuff. I avoid those middle aisles though, because they can tempt you in. I just don't even look at them most of the time, unless there's something I think, oh, I really want ABC, and I wonder if they've got them in the middle of Lidl or in the middle of Aldi. So then I'll do it. But otherwise, shopping, I just don't enjoy it really. I do enjoy a browse somewhere like an antique centre, but I don't do that very often, and I don't buy anything when I do. And I do love browse around a charity shop, although not so much these days, because when I've looked, I've just been so disappointed at how little there was in there that I could afford. And I love a boot sale, but it's not car boot sale season here in the UK, so they'll start again probably end of March around in this area. I know some people have them indoors throughout the year, but we don't here. And another thing I do is, usually just to save myself time, and I haven't done any of this week, is to batch cook. So I'll make a big batch of something, and this works really well with casseroles and soups and things like that. Pasta sauce is okay, obviously not with the pasta in it. And I'll do a big batch cook, or I will double cook whenever I do cook on purpose to save time later. So batch cooking, I think, it does really save you so much time. You can buy ready meals, but they're quite expensive. They're full of preservatives. You end up with a lot of packaging and plastic, and that's something that I'm quite keen to avoid. So batch cooking from scratch, very simple stuff, is kind of crucial. And I did make a massive sausage casserole when I had a family over, actually, at the beginning of half term. I had my mum and dad and my sister and her husband and their 2 children. And I made a massive sausage and lentil casserole. And although we ate all the sausages, there's still a load of this lentil stuff. So I've actually frozen 2 portions of that. And that could be mixed with rice or pasta, or have some more sausages cooked alongside it. So things like that are quite handy to have in the freezer. And I think over the years we've simplified our social life a lot, and partly that is because we don't have the money to spend going to pubs, theatres, restaurants all the time, and we like seeing friends. I mean, I see my big group of girlfriends once a month at our book group, and we'll have a glass of wine and we have some snacks and we have a laugh, and that's really nice. That's a regular thing. And occasionally we'll go to the pub, very occasionally, not very often. But it's too expensive, and again, it's quite tiring if you've been at work all day. And at the moment, I just don't have the energy to go out all the time in the evening. So it's not something that I want to do at this point. Having said that, when I was in my 20s, I was out every night. The pubs were a lot cheaper then. Drink was a lot cheaper then. Just everything was a lot cheaper then. So I did go out every night. Now, if I was younger, I'd do what my daughter does. 2 of my daughters are particularly good at this, having parties indoors, and people bring everything. They bring stuff. I think I mentioned this before, but number 2 daughter Chloe, she has, they do lots of really good creative parties, like on a theme, but they had a jacket potato party. So I think the hostess cooked all the jacket potatoes, and everybody bought a couple of interesting toppings to go on them, or salads and that kind of thing. And they just had a laugh. And that's good, isn't it? It doesn't cost a fortune, and they can still socialise and have fun. In the garden, although we haven't done very much to the garden here yet, we're waiting for spring. We need to, I'm looking out there so you can see it too. We're waiting to see what comes up. To me, it looks as if it's quite boring, really. There are a lot of shrubs out there. There are a couple of trees. I don't think there's going to be a lot of colour. There don't seem to be a lot of bulbs coming up. So over time, we'll simplify the garden as much as possible by keeping things fairly low maintenance. So what I'd like to do is get some bulbs planted. They come up every year, don't they? Things like snowdrops and crocuses and daffodils and maybe some tulips. Get some flowering shrubs and that kind of thing, so that you get some colour without having to do loads of work, because it costs a lot of money. You can spend a lot of money on plants, and I enjoy gardening, but I don't want to spend every weekend doing it. And the other thing that we don't do to keep our lives simple is we just don't attempt to keep up with the Joneses. I think you're on a hiding to nothing, really, trying to keep up with the Joneses if you're on a limited budget. And it's always, you're tempting to look at other people and you think, well, their house is beautifully decorated and they've got a lovely kitchen, or maybe they've got a new car, or maybe they're going on lovely holidays, they have nice clothes, and kind of wish you could spend more in each of those kind of areas. But in the end, if you don't have the budget for that, then you can't do that. Or you have to be creative and really be creative with what you have and see what you can do with a more limited budget. And I quite enjoy doing that. And you don't know, those people, you don't know how much debt they've got into in order to have that kind of lifestyle, do you? So that's what I think as well. They could have thousands of pounds worth of debt on their new kitchen or their new car, and I don't want that. And I'm not house proud. I like to keep things tidy. Having said that, I haven't had time to do a proper tidy up this weekend, so I'll do a bit of a tidy up tomorrow. But to me, being really house proud is a complete waste of my time. I've got other things I could do. So you won't catch me getting the Hoover out every day. You won't catch me getting neurotic over a crumb or a little bit of dirt here and there. As long as the house is clean, it doesn't have to look as though Mrs. Hinch has visited, So I know some people really love that sense of control that a super, super organised and tidy house brings them. And I like to be organised, and I would like to be a bit more organised at the moment. And my sister is super organised. I mean, you go into her cupboards or her fridge and everything is colour-coded and completely well organised. But she works, and she has 2 children still at home, and so she needs to retain a sense of control, and that helps her to do that. So, but for me, we're quite different. I mean, she's very house proud. I'm really not. So to me, it's not a priority. So more a priority to me are just the simple pleasures that kind of keep me calm, stop me getting stressed out about things, make me appreciate that life can be rewarding and satisfying and fun without me having to spend a fortune. We're in a lovely area. I've shown the area that we're in different videos, and we're so lucky. We've got some beautiful walks, and we like walking. We've got the dog. Doesn't cost us anything. Occasionally we'll spend petrol to get to somewhere to start a walk, but most of the time we'll walk from home. I love a walk in the sunshine. I don't even mind a walk in the rain, to be honest, if I've got my raincoat and everything on. If it's a nice area and it's interesting. I love a look around a beautiful garden. I've seen some posters up to say that there's going to be an open garden in this area in the summer, and I'm really excited by that. I'm really looking forward to that. I already mentioned that I belong to a book group, and I just enjoy snuggling down with a book. I'm reading a lot more since I joined the book group, just generally, because obviously we have our book that we've chosen for the month, but it's often I'll get through that quickly and then I'll look for something else. So the local library is really good to go and get free books to read. Sometimes I find 99p ones on Kindle. One I'm reading now is 99p one. Sometimes I will listen to audiobooks, is the other thing. I absolutely love listening to audiobooks. I enjoy watching a film and having a glass of wine in the evening. I don't have to be in the cinema. We've got a reasonable smart TV, so I'm quite happy to catch up with some films or a drama. We've been watching Happy Valley, and we started again from the beginning of the series 1. And I just enjoy things like that. And I enjoy a good yoga session. As I say, I haven't been doing it enough. And it's something that it just gives me a bit of joy and makes me feel so much better. So I think appreciating life's simple pleasures helps you to keep life less complicated. You don't have to do things like, I don't know, getting a train to London to go to see some big stately home or museums or something. I'm not saying we would never do that. We have done that. But you don't have to complicate your life by making everything really complex, or your arrangements for the things that you do really complex and expensive. Sometimes just things on your doorstep, appreciating what's in your local area, that can be really good. And we've got some great little small free museums. We've got a really fantastic art gallery here as well. It has really interesting things. It doesn't cost anything to go and see things. So I really enjoy life's simple pleasures, is what I am trying to say. I'm kind of beating about the bush and warbling on a little bit about it. But what I'm saying is that, keep things simple. You can enjoy yourself without doing really complicated things and really expensive things. And the other thing I think that complicates and stresses our lives is our love of stuff and more stuff. We want to fill our homes with more and better stuff, don't we? We see adverts on telly, in magazines, on social media for yet more stuff. And quite often I'll see myself, I kind of get drawn in. I think, oh, that looks really good. I was also looking at the other day, it was some makeup, and it was clearly, when I looked at this advert, I thought this is just very, very much fraudulent. They had the models putting on this amazing foundation stuff, and all of their pores were disappearing and all of the lines on their face, and I was kind of drawn in thinking, wow, that's amazing. And then I thought, that's not real. You'd actually have to put a coat of emulsion paint on your face to actually get rid of all of the lines like that. So I like to ask myself questions about whether I really want something, whether I really need it, whether it's the best use of my money at that moment. But it's so easy to get drawn in, isn't it? And I'm no different to anybody else, and I really have to stop myself. But I'm not materialistic anymore. And I think that kind of materialism that we've all kind of been pushed towards, because the powers that be want us to buy stuff, don't they, all the time? I don't think it's very good, because the more stuff we need, the more stuff we want, the more we have to work, the more debt we're likely to get into. And, I want to hark back to simpler times when people, they didn't want for these things because they didn't exist yet. They didn't. I mean, I go back to my book, Be Frugal Like Your Grandma. Or Save Money Like Your Grandma is the title of my book. Extreme Frugality, Save Money Like Your Grandma. Our grandparents didn't know that they needed things like plug-in air fresheners. They didn't know that they needed expensive creams that apparently got rid of all the lines on your face, because they weren't advertised. Nobody had them, so nobody wanted them. You don't want something till it exists, do you? So I think I'd kind of wish we could get back to those times. Not all of those times. I mean, obviously we've made some good advances in certain areas that like medicine, for example, that I wouldn't want to lose. But I wish that we could go back to simpler times when we were happy with less and nobody had all this stuff, and you weren't constantly chasing more and more and more stuff, and then getting trapped in this cycle of having to work more to pay for this stuff. And I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't seem to make any sense. We have one life, we have a short life. The more we have, the more we need to work to pay for it. So I think I like to prioritise really what I spend money on these days. And I wish I'd done it earlier, I mean, I would love to go on a holiday and travel more than we do. And I'd like to go to some far-flung places. Years and years ago, when I was in my 20s, I went to New Zealand. And I've always wanted to go back. But I'm probably not ever going to go to New Zealand. And I would also really love to go up to Scotland. I have been to Scotland. Justin's never been. And it would be a lot more affordable for us and more practical for us to go to Scotland for a holiday. So I think that's what we're looking at some point. And parts of Yorkshire look absolutely beautiful. So that was looking at Happy Valley again. That was based in Yorkshire and just looks fabulous. So as long as you don't have as much excitement and adventure as Sarah Lancashire has when you're there. So I just think sometimes we're never satisfied. And if we can find a way of, bearing in mind that a lot of people in poor countries live on, $1 a day or something like that, and that we're complaining because the cost of living has gone up and we perceive that we can't afford the things that we need, then it kind of keeps it in perspective. And it makes you, you feel grateful. I'd have to watch the news to feel very grateful for what I have, especially when you look at the awful earthquake in Turkey and Syria. We don't have that here. So we're very lucky. So I think it's really important to kind of identify what's important to you and focus your time and attention on that. And don't let it be a really long list. Keep the list of things that you spend your time doing quite short. Try not to kind of feel pressure to do more and to spend more than you need to, really. And learn to say no. Learn to say no to yourself, to your family members, to your children particularly. And I know this is hard because my children were all at home until relatively recently. And, they're also caught up in this materialistic world and they want more, more, more. And I try to lead by example. But, sometimes you just have to say no. And you say no to yourself sometimes. You say no to friends who are trying to push you to maybe go on a holiday with them or go on a day trip that you can't really afford, or just go to the pub and you've been too many times this week or this month. So, your kids maybe are telling you they need the latest trainers or such and such an Xbox game and those kind of things. And sometimes you just have to say no, or say, well, look, this is how much that costs. You can start to earn some money in this way, or should we see if we can get your paper round, or, if they're old enough, maybe they can get a Saturday job and actually start to save up for those things themselves so that they appreciate that it doesn't come easy. You have to work for things. So the one thing that I needed to do is, that I haven't done this last fortnight, is to manage my time well. I do think if you manage your time as well as possible, then you kind of keep things simple. So, it's just a small example. If I'm going to, just say I'm approaching the cleaning in the house. So if I do this when I go to clients' houses, because I do a couple of cleaning jobs, I think, well, I'm going to do all the polishing. So I'll whiz around and polish everything that needs polishing. So I kind of batch it. And then I think I'm going to do all the hoovering. And I hoover everything. And then I'm going to wash all the floors that need washing, or I'm going to clean all of the toilets, and I'm going to clean all of the mirrors. So I've got the things that I need for those things. So you can do that in your own house and just kind of use your time better. And if you're going out, you could say, well, I'm going out now. What do I need whilst I am out? I'm making a car journey. Saves on petrol too. I'm going to the supermarket. Do I need any stuff for the cats while I'm there? Do I need to go into the pet shop? What else do I need while I'm there? Is there anyone I need to call into? What else do I need? Do I need petrol whilst I'm out? That kind of thing. So, just try and manage your time a bit better. And I think that, this goes back to the ironing as well, not doing ironing and keeping the garden low maintenance, just so that you have a bit more time to do what you want to do. So that's how I'm keeping things simple, really. I want to try and take some of my own advice, really, because I must have had too much on in order to feel that when I'm suddenly busy doing things that I have to do for other people, that there's too much to do. The other thing I do too much of, and I've kind of crept back into doing this, is playing games on my phone. I actually deleted all but about one, I think, about 6 months ago. I came to this conclusion, thought, I'm just wasting time. I'm just sitting on my phone playing Candy Crush, or normally with me it's like Boggle type games. I love word games, and you can just play one, but I never play one. You can waste half an hour doing things like that, can't you? Or scrolling through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and getting involved in that kind of thing. And they sap your time, don't they, those kind of activities? So I have to be really, really careful that I'm not doing too much of that. And watching TV as well. If it's just me here, I don't watch telly at all, or hardly at all. I very rarely will sit and watch telly. when Justin's around as well, we tend to watch things together. But as Izzy's been here, I think I've been wasting quite a lot of time watching telly. But then she's been poorly, so she's had the telly on a lot, and what else could she do? Generally speaking, I keep away from my old habit of glossy magazines. I think for most people, Instagram has kind of replaced that, hasn't it? You're fixed to looking at all things beautiful. And I used to love Country Living magazine, and you can get lost in these dreams of these beautiful thatched houses in the country and fabulous gardens. And it's not good for me, and it's not good for my mental health, because I start to want what I can't have. I can't have that. So I keep away from that, and I keep away from those. I used to follow some like real nice cottagey accounts on Instagram, and they were lovely to look at. But again, they're like presenting these images of perfection that most of us just don't have the means or the time to achieve, or even the will, actually. I don't really want to spend all my time making my house look perfect, but so I try not to do that. And the other things I don't do now is just watch the news on repeat. I try and listen to the news once a day, and occasionally I watch the 6 o'clock news, but I don't let myself listen to it over and over on, if the TV's on in the background, the radio's on in the background. You can hear the news so many times just because it's so flipping depressing. I want to know what's going on in the world, but the media do tend to present things in quite a dramatic way, and it can be quite anxiety provoking, I think. Was it Morrissey? Morrissey said the news conspires to frighten us, and I think that's true. It can feel really very negative, so I try not to do that. That also takes a lot of time up as well, doesn't it? So I think going back to curbing your need, sorry, it's the dishwasher making that noise, curbing your need to just buy stuff is to really consider your wants as opposed to your needs. And when you say I need something, do you really mean I want that? So, do you say, oh, I really need some boots, I need those new boots. You think, well, do I? I've got 2 pairs of boots, 4 pairs of boots already in the cupboard. So do I just want a different style, or could I just polish up the ones that I've got and wear those a bit more often? And get your priorities straight, really. So for me, I'd rather spend time with people and chatting to people and maintaining my relationships rather than going out or going shopping and those kind of things. So it's kind of getting your priorities straight. So I really don't have it sorted. I don't have this sorted at all. But my aim is just being aware of that I'm working towards a simpler life, and that sometimes I unnecessarily complicate my life, and I'm trying not to do that. And I want to just have time and make more time. And I do feel like I am a hamster on the wheel sometimes as it is, and I'd got out of that. So I want to kind of get back to just sometimes having time to sit and do nothing occasionally, not sit on games on my phone. Just to give yourself time to, if it's a sunny day, sit outside with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and just enjoy the sound of the birds singing, or, go for a longer walk along the quay or something like that. So it's a work in progress. I don't have it sorted. I have been really ridiculously busy. But that's what I'm aiming for, just to keep things simple going forward. So be interested to know if you get like this in the comments below, and whether you find that if you actually look at yourself, whether you're unnecessarily complicating your life by trying to do everything and have everything and spend too much money and they need to work more to pay for everything, or whether you've kind of moved away from that. I think it's easier to do. It's easy for me to say because I'm nearly 60. I'm at a stage of life where I don't have to work all the time. So I do appreciate that. And 20 years ago, I had a lot more expenses. I had children at home and a mortgage to pay. So I appreciate that is the case for some people. But then in a way, it's even more important that you keep your life simple, isn't it? And you prioritise things that really matter, the things that, when you're on your deathbed, you don't say, oh, I really wish I'd gone shopping more, do you? You might say, I really wish I'd spent more time with my friends or with my sister, or, that kind of thing. So anyway, those are my warblings for today. I will see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.